Today I am with Katherine Piper, who is Director of the Future Economy Network, one of the largest green business networks in the UK, established back in 2005 and continuing to grow and evolve and, as we'll hear as we go through this, test and prove a whole variety of different ways to connect and build sustainable business communities. So welcome, Katherine.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I'm interested to find out, obviously, a little bit more about how the network came about, some of the evolution and the way that it sort of grew in the early days, and then maybe then sort of segue into a little bit more about the current activities, because I think for a lot of people looking to build both online and physical real world communities after the physical isolation that we're having right now, I think it's going to be very, very interesting to learn some of the really quite fascinating experiences that you've had as a group.
Yeah, okay. So like you said, the Future Economy Network started in 2005. It actually wasn't called Future Economy Network back then. It was Low Carbon Southwest. And it's still doing principally the same things as we do now, which is all about helping businesses to accelerate their sustainability journey. So we do that through facilitating events, sort of knowledge sharing events, and making introductions amongst the network so that businesses can progress as fast as they possibly can. To cut a long story short, a lot of the grant funding that we were receiving back then had dried up. We were sort of struggling to make ourselves a viable business. So we decided to restructure and relaunch back in 2018. That was when the name change happened, Future Economy Network. And we grew our offer, in effect putting on weekly sustainability related events for a business audience predominantly, although I think they're relevant to everybody really. But also we were setting up Future Leap, the Sustainable Business Hub, and a festival of sustainable business as well.
And these are some of the elements I'd really like to kind of explore and sort of dive a little bit more deeply into, because it's really quite a fascinating mix and sort of eclectic bonding together of lots of different kind of activities and behaviours and groups, and it's almost like trying to appeal, I guess, for well, to everybody who's interested in this sustainability journey. So it's almost like there's something in it for everyone, no matter what angle they're approaching you from.
Yeah, it's quite a varied offer actually. I'm really proud of what we're able to offer. So as network members, there are various different offers. So like I was saying, we put on weekly sustainability related events. That's discounted for any network members, but they also get priority for speaking slots. So say for example, yourself, Neil, as a network member, you have spoken at one of our events about your business and sort of helping to promote your business. And then in addition to that, then we put out a monthly newsletter where all of our network members are able to share good practice and any good news stories that they have. So that's really useful in terms of facilitating connections. Then a lot of what my role is actually making one-to-one introductions. So each business that joins the network, they have the offer of a welcome meeting with either myself or a member of the team, and we find out exactly where they are on their sustainability journey and what they need to be able to progress. And then invariably there's somebody in our network who will be able to help with that. And if there's not, then we reach out to our wider network via our newsletter. So that's one element. And actually the Future Economy Network, we operate, we just try to cover our costs. We're not trying to make any money out of anything that we do, and that's how we can keep costs really low. We believe that every business should be able to access our events. So events, I mean, at the moment, I think they're as low as £2.50 right the way up to about £10 at the virtual online events during lockdown. And then when we come out and that we offer physical events where there's the additional sort of cost of venue and catering, then that goes up to about £20–30, but then it's roughly half price for members. So it's a really nice offering, and we can keep, like I said, we can keep prices relatively low. Then in addition to that, back in 20 19, had to think. Yeah, last year we bought a building which we're turning into a carbon neutral sustainability hub. That has various different aspects to it. So we feel like we need to be walking the talk. So we've made a commitment for us to be carbon neutral by the end of this year. We have removed our gas boilers, we put in air source heat pumps, mechanical ventilation heat recovery system, and all of these things we're showcasing basically so that other businesses might consider what they can do as well within their premises. So for example, we've got flooring that is made out of ghost fishing nets, so taking plastics out of the ocean, and then they're carbon neutral in their operations to turn them back into carpeting. And you really can't tell the difference. And there's various different products and services. We've got a very large retail space within the hub where businesses and the general public are able to come in and just have a look around and get some ideas really as to what they might be able to do within their homes or within their businesses to be as sustainable as possible. So just trying to think of other nice products. We've got ground source heat pumps that are for householders that are only about the size of a microwave. There's a really cool rainbow chair that's made 3D printed out of crisp wrappers. We've got golf clubs that are used to make the legs of lamps, and biros and toothbrushes that are remade, refurbished, turned back into tables and lamps, various different things really. So there's a sort of the bigger ticket items like the air source heat pumps, and mechanical ventilation heat recovery system, and the flooring. And then there's a whole lifestyle range as well within the hub. So those smaller ticket items, which really we hope that anybody might be able to buy. So things like your bamboo toothbrush, for example. Connected to the retail space, we've then got an eco cafe. So Liga, our cafe manager, has done a huge amount of research into how to make the best possible menu out of sort of sustainably sourced menu, and she has a catering service as well linked to that. So if businesses wanted to book our event space, which I'll tell you about in a second, they can also book the catering services, so that they've, the USP of coming to our spaces, we're in a carbon neutral space, having our event in a carbon neutral space, and we know that we're going to have sustainably sourced catering, and make useful connections with others in that space who might be sort of showcasing or present. So we've got the retail space, we've got the eco cafe, and then we've got the event space, which has theatre style. There's enough seating for 50 with all the AV equipment and what have you. And then we've got co-working space as well. So and that has 70 desk spaces. Quite annoyingly, so this is an ongoing project, and quite annoyingly really, we just put the finishing touches to the co-working space on the day that we were told we needed to shut because of COVID. So it's quite frustrating because we've got a waiting list of about 200 people who want to get in there and be co-working in this space and making those useful connections to progress their sustainability journey, and we can't open. But literally watch this space on that one. So yeah, so that's really good. So Future Economy Network, we will be based there as well, and then it will make my life a lot easier basically, because like I said, a lot of what I do are those introductions to others in the network. Well, if everybody's basing themselves there, that sort of really helps those connections happen quite naturally. I'm hoping I can put my feet up sometimes.
And that's something, that's something I wanted to pick up, was this whole idea of being based really as a community. I think there's something very, very communal, something very collective about the whole kind of ethos behind this. So not only is it the events and those kind of big ticket items where obviously you would want to be getting people together, it's on the day to day as well, isn't it? So actually what you're doing, and I want to also pick up in a while this whole idea about not looking to make money from this venture, because that in itself is a really interesting discussion point. But just around this whole thing about building the collective and the community, where did that really sort of come from as a concept? Was it based around the idea that you wouldn't really be able to achieve these kind of goals and objectives by yourself?
I think it's such a huge task that we have to achieve, that um, we don't, it's not about competition anymore, it's about collaboration. You know, we've got a long way to go before we can meet the 1.5-degree target, and we need everybody to be working together and pushing forward with that. There is enough work for everybody. We are, you know, the Future Economy Network, we're pretty inundated at the moment with businesses wanting to join the network, and really we'll welcome anybody because they hopefully will get something from joining the network. But also we need that support. We can't, you know, as just by ourselves, we're not able to offer everything to our members. But by pulling on others within the networks, and we can offer, there's a really good offer there. So yeah, a lot about collaboration, and I think that's just naturally happened in business over recent years as well. I don't know if that's been your experience too, but it does feel like there's less of a sort of a competitive ethos. It's more about how can we build this together. A big part within the sustainability world being that we've got so far to go. You know, we've got a lot that we need to be doing. But I can only say, like, what keeps me going through that, because it can be quite challenging knowing that we've got a long way to go, is the fact that so many businesses that attend our events are doing such amazing stuff, you know, and that keeps me motivated and thinking, okay, we can do this if we work together.
Yeah, and it feels like it's one of those things that it is almost at the opposite end of the spectrum to a commercial organization looking to build a network or a community, where, let's be honest here, in most cases it is about eventually trying to chase the subscriptions, the memberships, and in other words, chasing the money. Whereas it feels like the Future Economy Network has taken this almost antithesis approach, where it is about collaboration and connection first. If then you can make some money out of it that you can then reinvest back into the network and into the activities, then great. But that's not the driver.
That's it, yeah. The Future Economy Network side of things, for the sort of the not-for-profit element, has been in existence for years, you know, like I said, since 2005. That will always be what we're pushing towards, is trying to make it as accessible financially and just, you know, now virtually as possible for everybody. The other elements within the Future Leap Hub, they operate as a for-profit business, and of course they have to, because we have to be realistic about, you know, how we run as a business. But ultimately our main thing is about disseminating information and knowledge and helping businesses to progress as fast as they possibly can. The other thing that I just wanted to mention, sort of linked to that, is our really big event of the year. So we have the Future Economy Network has the weekly events, but then the big event, the Festival of Sustainable Business, is where we draw all of that together and really try to get pushing forward as much as we possibly can. How do we achieve, you know, 1.5 degree or less, a carbon neutral world, or at least Bristol, UK. So the Festival of Sustainable Business, this year it's booked for the 1st of October, although COVID dependent. We've got a backup date in April. Then at that event we have over 1,500 attendees, whereas at our weekly events we have between sort of 30 and 120, just to give you a sense of the scale. So it happens in Bristol, where the hub is based, and we book the top floor of We the Curious, Science Museum, for over 50 exhibitors showcasing their sustainability related products and services. And then we have a sustainable transport zone down in Millennium Square, a sustainable food zone. We have a conference going on throughout the day with 8 seminars on different sustainability related topics. And then at the end of all of that, then we celebrate everything we've achieved by having a gala dinner at the Bristol Hotel with all sustainably sourced food again. So yeah, and then we all collapse. So it's just a really, that's the big one for us. That's what we're always pushing towards, is okay, how much can we really push this forwards? We're really happy to have some great sponsors this year as well, who are really on board, the same as us, really, just trying to help push things as much as they possibly can. So and I guess it would be remiss of me not to say that there are still some sponsorship opportunities available. But
I wouldn't have
again,
expected you to say anything less.
yeah,
I would have expected a shameless plug there for that.
yeah. But again, it's just on that sort of just covering costs. So, you know, we're not trying to make any money out of it. It's just covering costs and sort of ploughing that money into making the festival as good as it possibly can be.
So there's a real sort of consistency here. I think one of the big values that somebody listening or watching this is going to be taking away from the way you're describing this kind of creation of a really, really connected, really proactive, really engaged community, is that there's a consistency of theme. I think that is one thing that I'm really picking up here. And it is about this whole thing about you can't create sustainability in isolation. So you have to collaborate, you have to kind of be working together as a community. So that was one really sort of interesting thing. So anybody building a community, and maybe even a different sort of sector or with a different objective, it is about that really consistent theme that everybody buys into. So also it seems to be about really understanding the audience and making sure that you're kind of playing back things that really resonate. So that connection, that kind of a desire to keep the engagement levels really, really high on an ongoing basis. And then that thing that you've just mentioned there, which is also about, but having a showcase, having a flagship event, or some kind of way that you can literally bring everybody together. And so I think maybe the way that you're describing it is having, you know, these three almost ingredients in the recipe, because it feels then that you're actually appealing to people who just want that quick hit. They want to get as much as they can from one event, and also those people who are looking to keep this kind of drip feed of engagement, because they can see there's a realism to it, in terms of actually we need to keep connected, because we can only be on our journey if we stay connected with the other members as well. So it feels like you're almost creating this recipe out of this.
Yeah, and there has to be that sort of connectivity, because sustainability is all encompassing, you know. So I chair every weekly event that we facilitate, and you would think that I would feel quite knowledgeable on sustainability, but it's moving so fast that nobody can know everything that's happening, you know. And because it hits on energy, you know, industry, buildings, transport, food, you name it, you need everybody to be pulling together, because different businesses will have different expertise that you need to be calling upon. So to quote the IPCC special report on global warming of 1.5 degrees C, that catchily titled report, they were, you know, I think most people know about the 1.5 degree report, that we need to ensure that we keep below 1.5 degrees of global warming if we are to limit the risks around the devastating impacts of climate change. And within that report, it found that limiting global warming to 1.5 would require rapid and far-reaching transitions in land, energy, industry, buildings, transport, and cities. So it's everybody, you know, we all need to be pushing forward as fast as we possibly can. And I was reading an article today about the impacts of, you know, the reduced carbon emissions whilst we are in lockdown. And despite that, I mean, it's great that the emissions have reduced, but despite that, we are still not going to this year meet our carbon reduction requirements unless we really push forwards. Even with this sort of time of really downing tools, we need to do more. So it just shows you how much we need to be pushing forwards at a household level, community level, business level, at the local authority level, and, you know, and beyond. I mean, I'm really fortunate that I sit on the Environmental Sustainability Board for Bristol City Council's One City Plan, and so I feel that I always say to network members, if there's something that's not working well at that more strategic level that you think I might be able to bend the mayor's ear about, then do get in touch, because I feel like we're very privileged to be able to sit on that board. There's only 15 members, and like I said, it's co-chaired by the mayor. We've got an opportunity there to be really pushing at that more citywide, regional level to push things forwards, and that's what's needed, is that sort of connection at the wider level as well as at that business level. And if I can be, you know, a spokesperson for businesses that are in our network to help push as much as I can, then I'll do everything I can. I don't know if I really answered your question, but
You did. No, you certainly did. And I think what I picked up from that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but to me, it feels very much that this is now, in the current physical distancing, this is very much more now about continuing the momentum, because it's all very well to then say, oh, well, you know, we've been locked down for however many months it's going to be when we come out of the other side, and however that's going to look. But that is no excuse. I think what you're saying is that the momentum has to be continued despite the situation. So kind of how as a network have you been kind of handling that? Because I know obviously you've been sort of almost transitioning or pivoting, you could say, the physical sort of, you know, face-to-face events to online. Has that really help continue that momentum?
Yeah, so yeah, we've moved all of our events online for the moment, and it's really great fun actually. I'm quite enjoying it. The fact that I don't have to get up quite so early in the morning is because usually our events are 7:45 until about 10, quarter past 10. And we're trying to make it as human as possible, I guess you would say. So we use Zoom because it's very well known for most users, and we try to facilitate networking still by putting people into breakout rooms, so that, you know, there'll be one Future Economy Network member in each breakout room, or we'll just, you know, just to prompt discussions, and then we just let them do networking like you normally would. We used to, like I was saying, we used to provide refreshments, but now it's a BYOB, bring your own breakfast. So it's quite nice, really informal, people munching on their muesli whilst chatting in the breakout rooms, and then we come back for the more formalised session. So we're just trying to keep that. I always sort of said to the team, it's important for us to be professional and yet approachable, you know, so trying to make a network that, yes, we're all working in important businesses, it's important that we're professional, but also we need to feel like we can connect with one another. We're all human, we need to ensure that we keep that human element as well. So yeah, so that's been quite challenging. A huge thanks to our events manager, who managed to in 2 days pull out the stops and get our events online. So yeah, so that was incredibly appreciated. So, and it's been quite a learning curve for us, but I just had a meeting this morning with the events manager, and we're talking about, when we come out of lockdown, will we continue with the virtual events? And we've figured out a way where we might be able to do both the physical and the virtual events at the same time, so that, you know, we can still have that wider audience. We're having, last week at our event, we had somebody log in from Switzerland, from Scotland, you know, so how great that we're able to reach more people now. We've had a new member join from Scotland when we're Bristol based, and I'm sure he wouldn't have joined previously, but now he can see the benefit, even if it's just of coming to our virtual events, he can see the benefit of the network, so that's great. Yeah, and in terms of understanding the audience and the topics that we speak about, we put out a feedback form after each event, and so we're led by our members basically as to what topics we're going to be speaking about. And like I said, each member who joins the network, I would meet with them and find out what areas they really need support with, or what they'd like to showcase, and that really influences our programme. And on the COVID side of things, I guess it's worth saying that there's been such a huge amount of support from members to fellow members about sort of offering advice and support, that we've set up a LinkedIn group specifically detailing all the COVID support that members are offering. And we've set up an event, I think it's in a couple of weeks' time, where we'll have members talking about what they might be able to offer and offering advice. So it feels very supportive, very collaborative, and yeah, it feels like the virtual world is working well for us.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls watching and listening to this broadcast, this is how you do it. Turning what could have been for a community network, particularly launching, you know, the hub there in the physical real world, literally on the dawn or the eve of the launch of something, turning things around from what could have been an absolute disaster to being a really huge success story by just embracing the opportunity and really maximizing, you know, technology to continue the momentum of the community. I mean, this is how you do it. I mean, this is such a great success story that it almost feels at this stage is it's still the tip of the iceberg. It feels like there's so much more that can happen. So if somebody is looking to engage sort of with you, sort of read a lot more, and I guess really importantly right now is sort of log on and be part of some of these events, how do they get in touch?
Yeah, so our website, futureeconomynetwork.co.uk, and you'll see there's an events tab. You'll see within the events tab upcoming events, and then you can book on that way. They're half price at the moment because we don't have the costs associated with a physical event. So make the most of that. If you're a student, they are discounted again, so that you know, students are able to access the events. So yeah, and if you're unsure as to whether your business is already a part of the network or not, you can also check that out on the website. So if you go into membership, you'll see there's a directory of network members there. So yeah, it might be worth just double checking that so you can get the cheaper tickets if you are a member. And in terms of membership, if you wanted to join the network, it's £180 per year to be a part of the network. Just drop us an email to info@thefutureeconomygroup.co.uk. I think I got that right. info@thefutureeconomygroup.co.uk, and we'll get back to you.
Katherine, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.